Watching live on AAU TV. We're currently streaming on various channels actually. You can watch live on Facebook. You can also watch live on YouTube on the Association of African Universities Facebook and YouTube pages. I know I'm always mentioning that every episode is special, yeah, because every episode truly is a special episode because of the topics that we normally discuss. But today in particular is actually very special because today is our 10th episode. Can you believe it? 10 whole episodes. And today we're actually just doing a recap of the previous episodes that we've filmed. So you'll get to see, we'll show you clips of some of the discussions that have taken place on this stage so far. And today I actually have a special guest. He is our co-host. I call him our co-pilot, and I'll have him introduce himself. I'm sure he's not a stranger.
Yes, I'm not a stranger. I'm not a stranger on this show, and I think this is my second time of actually coming here. Okay. And I've really enjoyed the show, as you've earlier said on. Okay, my name is Seto Sekodia. I'm the Human Resource Manager for KUSI Consulting. Okay. Yes.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, I wanted you to, good. I'm glad you're excited because I think for you, you're kind of absorbing all that's taken place.
Exactly.
So today, hopefully you'll be able to join us and have a very insightful discussion with our viewers. All right, now viewers, as always, please let us know where you're tuned in from so that we can show you some love. Yeah? All right, so you've been watching?
Yeah, I've been watching the show.
Yeah?
I've been watching the show.
How is it so far?
Oh, so far, I would say so good. And I think one thing that I've observed about this show is that the topics that are being chosen are always in line with the happening in society.
Okay.
When what I mean by happening in society has to do with what is actually happening in society in the HR fraternity, in the HR world, on the job market, in the employer-employee relationship, what actually goes on, HR courts and other stuff, what actually transpire over there. That is what the topics are actually based on. And one thing that interests me is that during the setup of this show, or during the whole, let me put it, the pregnancy of this show and to the giving birth of the show, I was part of it. And there's to the best of my knowledge, most of the topics were even selected before the show actually started. So, yeah, so I'm surprised that things are just falling in as into place just like that.
Well, I mean, I think you were there from the very beginning when we started to structure the show, and the whole idea is to be able to have some kind of a format that we follow. I think the whole HR function is a process, and the point of the show is to make sure that employees and employers are aware of the role that human resource plays within an organization from the very beginning when the employee is brought into the organization up until the very end.
Let me be quick to add to this. And you know, one problem that this show has actually solved is who to talk to in an organization. As you know, with this program, I never knew that a lot of people are having a lot of employment and employee relationship issue in various organizations. But I've seen that since the inception of this show, it has solved a lot of HR-related issues. So especially, I remember the last time when we were discussing about employer-employee relationship, where we brought a scenario that someone went to his bank account and his salary has been increased, and later he realized that his role has been increased, his responsibility, more responsibility has been added, and the person couldn't speak up, couldn't ask.
Okay.
So yeah, it actually solved a ladies program in our KUSI consulting group.
Exactly.
For her, he was demoted, but nothing was said about, and the salary there was a reduction, and it's actually giving people the confidence to actually speak up in their organization, do due diligence, and also put up certain structures in their HR department to increase productivity in various institutions. So this program is actually helping.
Well, good. I'm very happy to hear that, and I really hope that the viewers who are watching feel the same way.
And we are getting, at least we are getting very good feedback from our viewers, and everybody seems to like the program.
Okay.
Everyone seems to like the program.
Good.
Because we are not actually, as a continent or as a country, we are not having a show actually directed to HR. But we all know the employment and situation in the country. We are not having a show which is directed. So this show has actually come to solve a whole lot of issues that is going on in the employment, job markets, and other stuff. So
exactly.
I think it's a very, very good show.
Okay, so we're going to mention some of the issues and some of the topics that we've discussed. So let's first start off by introducing our first episode. We're going to quickly show you a clip from our first episode, which was defining the human resource functions and its defining human resources and its many functions. So here's a clip.
So then HR, the first function of HR is to create a strategy which will align the people with the business.
Who is the head senior consultant at CITAM?
I think he was our first
he was our first guest, exactly, and he is actually the so he also manages the Society for Human Resource Management here in Ghana for human resource professionals who are interested in advancing in their field. So it was quite insightful talking to him. Can you recall some of what we discussed with Kojo?
That, after Kojo's interview, I went to our Facebook where our various was, and the comment that was coming was that people were like, now HR has taken a new dimension. Initially, it used to be like HR are backroom staffs, but Kojo was of the view that Kojo made us aware that HR plays a strategic role when it comes to the setting up the structure of an organization. I remember him saying that HR have to actually strategize to the extent that one key punchline, let me use permit me to use punchline. One thing that he said that touches me was that HR has to play a very strategic role to ensure that all employees are aligned to the visions and mission of the company. And he also said that when business is not going on, maybe let's say products of the company are not moving, or the profitability of the company is not actually moving forward. Now we have to fall on HR to actually find out solution to all those issues. So he gave a different dimension to the HR world, and I think Kojo did very well, enlightening us on how to actually engage HR in a certain decision making.
Many functions.
Exactly. Yes. So initially, you know that HR is more seen as, let's say, the onboarding and outboarding process, payroll management and other stuff. But now things have changed.
Yeah,
things have changed. HR is actually entails a lot. Yes, we are involved in all aspects of it.
Because when you think about it, it's really employees that are running the business, you know, and HR's role is really to be able to groom
and to get the right human
employees.
resource to actually manage a certain department, you need HR.
Exactly.
You need the involvement of HR to actually know why productivity is going down. You need HR to know the organizational needs of the staff, so that HR will actually propose to management as to how we are going about. Let me say, I say management. HR is even part of management.
HR is part of management. Yes. Yeah.
Propose solutions to actually solve all those issues. So could you actually throw a very good punchlines on the HR fraternity, the HR world? And I think, yes, HR is changing and HR is becoming, I'm so glad that a lot of HR are actually following the dynamism of the job market and what is actually happening now in society.
All right. Another thing too that I think we want to touch upon is, you know, the HR function, the HR role isn't just for HR. Yes. I think all departments actually have a role to play when it comes to human resources. All departments should set some kind of a strategic goal, whether it's annual, whether it's quarterly. They all should have human resource functions within that department, because HR doesn't specifically work with employees. Exactly. HR is really just there to monitor and make sure that things are, but it's the managers, the supervisors actually work with the employees. So I think every department should also have its own internal human resource documents. Yes.
So, so actually, could you also mention that is there is some responsibility? I'm saying this because you said every department has to have its own. Is the responsibility of the HR to actually integrate all the departments together to have a common goal. It's the responsibility to actually for the HR to ensure that all the working protocol, the financial protocol of every organization is actually followed, it's outlined. All the departments are actually interrelated and other stuff. Yes, so I think Kwejo did very well on that topic.
Kudos to Kwejo, and hopefully we'll have him on a future episode.
We have to have him again. Kwejo have to come back to come and throw some light on certain issues. Okay,
we'll be sure to tell him that. So we're going to move on. So this is episode 2 where we welcomed Yasmin Boama of African Bag Recruitment and Genevieve Puni with RegTrain Limited. And the ladies joined us on this particular episode just to talk about some job searching strategies and talent acquisition. So let's watch this clip.
It's also about what can you add to the business using technology.
Jen actually talks about 3 things that employees should look out for. Yeah, and it's company branding, company culture, and responsibilities. I think when we talk about job searching strategies, the strategies is more for the employees to know, and then the talent acquisition part is more for employers to also know. So, I mean, what did you...
Rita, have you seen that? I earlier said that I made mention that this show actually fall in line with happenings in society. I remember the time that Jen and Yasmin was on the show, it was the time that our national service personnel were actually, let me say, graduating from their national service to the nation. Yeah, so when they came, it was like everybody was having job. Hey, how am I going to get job? How am I going to get job? How am I going to get job? So this topic actually came at the right point. Yes, and during their conversation too, they mentioned something like soft skills. Like everything is now the job market, job strategies actually now is based on what you have, your soft skills. And getting the job actually depends on the skills that you have, your research skills and other stuff. They made mention of employee branding and other stuff, the company, your responsibilities, all falls under soft skills that we are talking about. If you don't have a very good soft skill, it will be very difficult to actually organize yourself very well, to actually apply for the job, to know the right places to get, find job, posting job adverts. And Rita, and during that conversation too, you made a very good point too, that to employers.
What did I say?
Yes, you said employers. If you are looking for, let's say, an entry-level role, you taught employers, or you mentioned to employers where they can find all those candidates from. Initially, you know that posting job or publishing job usually is being done in the daily graphic.
Newspapers that was always the traditional way.
Yes, the newspapers. I don't remember, excuse me, our viewers, I don't remember the last time that I even bought a newspaper or got hold of a newspaper.
I know.
So when you are looking for, let's say, a recent graduate, you are looking for young professional, you are looking for someone for an entry-level role, you have to publish in LinkedIn.
Where can you
Facebook,
find those individuals,
where you can find us,
right?
the millennials, where you can find us.
Exactly.
We have our own word, the millennials word. So you educate the millennials word. So you actually educated.
I like that. That's funny.
You actually educated the employers and job searchers where they can find entry level role. That's where. So when we are KUSI Consulting, we are more of this digital, this millennial. We publish our work, our job roles, available roles online, LinkedIn, Facebook, and other stuff. So when you are looking for an entry-level role, you told us where to. When you're looking for a more senior level role, now even the senior level, the management level are now using the Facebook. That
they're still on
they are still on the social media. Yes.
I think that
they did very well and showed very good points on that topic.
I'm happy to hear, because I think that particular episode actually, I think, hopefully it helped our viewers to realize that the traditional means and how you search for jobs have really changed.
Yes.
You know, so, and it goes, I think it's for both employers and employees to know, right? The ways in which we're searching for jobs are totally different than what they were 10 years ago.
Yes.
You know, and the way that I think employers need to search for candidates should also change, because the times have changed. You know, employees are moving about in different ways.
That they also touch about has to do with the CV preparation, how to actually prepare your CV very well. Have a very good CV.
Are CVs even going to matter within the next
In our part of the world,
it's going to matter for quite some time.
It matters a lot in our part of the world. Initially, when people were actually publishing their job on newspapers and other stuff, it is gradually fading off.
Okay.
So CV will fade off, but for the time being, it's very, very important. It's the first point of call for an entry-level role.
Okay.
Listen, most senior, topmost positions are always based on recommendation and other stuff. So for the time being, it is more of CV is the first point of call for entry-level role and other stuff.
All right.
So they taught us how to actually, I'm saying us because I'm part of the millennials.
That's okay, interesting. I don't think I qualify for it, but okay.
Yes.
So
they actually taught us how to actually organize ourselves very well and how to prepare for interviews and other stuff. So they actually touched on very serious points on that. They did very well. I like that episode as well.
Good. My
favorite episode is yet to come.
Okay, you can't talk about it. Wait till we get there.
My favorite episode is yet to come. All right.
So we're moving on to episode number 3, which was rights of both employers and employees upon entry. And that one, you actually my co-pilot as well for that specific episode. So we talked about, we'll show you a clip of episode 3 as well, just so that you hear a bit of what was discussed. They have an HR department. Why don't you just take it? So here I was with Seth discussing the rights of both employers and employees. Do you recall that?
Yes, I recall that. And yeah, I recall that conversation.
Okay.
One thing that the key word that was underlined in that conversation has to do with due diligence. We spoke about where someone entered into our organization with fake counterfeit, let me use counterfeit certificates. What is the role of the employer to do? And actually I remember we saying that there is the role of the employer or the HR manager to actually do due diligence. And I also remember that the scenario that we discussed has to do with someone who had a raise. It was actually someone that we provided consultancy service to, and who has gotten a raise in his salary, and his responsibility has actually been changed, but has not been documented. So we also made mention that someone failed to fix, the key 2 points that we highlighted was someone actually failed to speak up. And the other someone also failed to do due diligence. The person who failed to speak up has to do with the employer. The employee. The employee is supposed to approach the HR manager or the HR department or the CEO that I've received this X amount on my salary, and this is not the salary that I'm also actually receiving. And what also makes that case very special has to do with that the person has not even passed his probationary period, but he just received a raise. And his responsibility has also actually some responsibility has been added to his role. So he failed to speak up. So we had encourage all our viewers who were watching us at that moment to actually speak up in case they have such issues in their organization. We also advising employers to actually try to document any additional role that they are adding on to their employees. Yeah, I think I think documentation is key once you begin employment. Because you have to realize that you as an employee, you have rights on the job, and when those rights are not being met, then yes, you should be able to go to your supervisor or HR and voice your concerns. I mean, lucky for this particular employee, he received a raise within that probationary period. In a situation where it doesn't happen often. Pay cut. Yeah. In a situation where he received a pay cut, how is he also going to handle it? Yeah, exactly. So, well, the good thing is the update on that conversation is that he actually did approach the human resource manager and requested for a new job description, and he was given a job description. So the last time I spoke to him, I mean, he seemed pretty happy, which that made me very happy. All right, so now Rita, before we even move on to the next episode, what I would like to say to our viewers that they should always speak up. Of course. Don't feel intimidated. As employees. Yeah, as employees, you have your rights. The employer also have its own rights. So everybody should try to speak up. Try to communicate. Don't feel intimidated. It's easier said than done, I'm sure. Just try your best and speak up. And I'll also encourage employers to actually create an environment for conversation, an environment for dialogue, because not everybody will have the opportunity to actually speak up. So
exactly.
In a situation where you want to ensure effective communication, have a whistleblowers line, have a suggestion box and other stuff, and so that employers can actually post, employees can actually
they can speak up
and all those stuff. Yes.
Perfect. Good. All right. So now, managing intimidation and harassment at the workplace. This was episode number 4, and we are going to show you a short clip. How do we do that? And in that episode, we actually welcomed Emma Wenani, who is Chief Director at Global Media Alliance. So let's show a clip.
He will make comments to me about my body shape.
Now, we had another guest on the show. Monique Parham joined us, and she currently works as a social worker. And she was actually sharing an experience that happened to her during the early stages of her career. Now, she was actually harassed by a coworker and also a supervisor. So in that instance, I mean, what do you do when it's both your coworker and your supervisor? You just started the job. You haven't been given any HR documents. You don't even know your way around, you know. So she handled it as best as she could.
So, Rita, anywhere I have the opportunity to actually talk about sexual harassment issue, I actually have a problem with our labor law. That's my problem with the labor law as it stands now. You know, the labor law actually does not state specifically what is a sexual Ghana labor law. It just states that an uncomfortable touches or this thing that someone do to you. How come if I feel comfortable with what the person is doing to me? We all know that if it is not in our culture, it's not advisable for someone to hold a lady's breast on the job and other stuff.
Of course.
Yeah, but the one who is being harassed is feeling comfortable with it. So what the labor law must actually come into terms with what is sexual harassment. When you tell someone like
they
this,
have to define it.
Redefine this sexual harassment. This thing, because some people, you go to certain offices, people play with kisses, people play with those harsh jokes, expensive jokes, which someone will actually claim to be a sexual harassment. So sexual harassment issues actually is dynamic. We don't have what we can actually term as sexual harassment. Okay. Because what you see as sexual harassment or what you see as uncomfortable, someone will feel comfortable about it.
So go ahead.
We must actually have a clear definition of what is termed as sexual harassment. Sexual harassment.
I think they do that on purpose, and they actually leave that to the employer to define. I understand.
Yes.
There's a general, I think, in the dictionary, in the Webster's dictionary or wherever you want to look it up, there's a definition for harassment. There's a definition for sexual harassment, but I think they purposely leave that. This is me just really doing some guesswork for the organization to define, you know, especially because when you think about our demographic, in Ghana, we are really extra friendly in the workplace versus the US. Certain things might even be okay to do here, but abroad, they might go by very strict rules that you can't. Like, I mean, literally like tapping somebody on the shoulder can even get you in trouble. So I say when in doubt, just don't do it. But I think it's up to the organization to clearly define what their policies are, what can employees get away with and what can they not. Because some work environments are they're more friendly, more laid back than other environments, you know. So I think leaving that up to the employer, and then of course having the employees actually read off a document.
In this case, my concern has to do with, maybe you said we should leave it to, let's say in a situation where we leave it in the hands of the employer. Maybe the employer will might come out with certain terms which does not favor the employee. Obviously, everybody is having its own cultural background. But so in our workplace, we can hack someone, but in this culture or the religion section that I'm actually coming from, it is sexual harassment. You see, so what I will entreat the labor law, the government to actually do, or those in charge with employment law, to actually set.
They have to set a standard.
For sexual. There's no standard to measure sexual harassment in Ghana, because someone can hold a lady's breast and
I mean, I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Oh, no, they do.
They might get away with it, but they're not supposed to get away with it.
They do. And one thing also, before we move on, one issue about sexual harassment is also actually to how to gather evidence against the arouser.
Okay.
There was an incident in Ghana here when a police officer actually touched a lady's breast at night. So the lady drove to the police station to report the officer. So the one in charge, the charge officer there was like, oh, please forgive him. Because he hold your voice and
really?
yes. So forgive him. I mean, it has become very difficult to actually
to prove it.
Yeah, to prove it.
Yeah, I mean, in those instances, you have to find a way, and that's why we spoke about documentation and also communication. For me, I think before any case is reported, you as an individual should try to handle it as it happens. If someone touches you and you feel uncomfortable, even if it's a handshake and it makes you feel some kind of way, then yes, you have a right to actually approach the person and let them know how it made you feel. Try that step, you know, and see what happens from it.
Also, I mean, some of the sexual harassment incidents are too, should I say, most of the harassers actually feel very shy to report on sexual harassment related issue. So as we said earlier on, HR practitioners, employers, CEOs of our organization must provide avenues for harassers to actually give up their harassment testimonies or harassment examples.
Feel comfortable to talk about incidents of harassment. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you, because it will that will do is also motivate other employees to also speak up about it. All right, so because of the interest of time, we're going to move on. Now, the next topic is, that was actually episode number 5, where we talked about acceptable codes of behavior during business and workplace dealings. Wow. All right, so we showed you this video, and we're going to show you this video again, which really just highlights employees doing all kinds of unnecessary or negative things on the job. All right. So yeah, we actually don't show you the full clip, I don't think. We might just show you a bit, but in the beginning, you see the employees are in the lunchroom. They're just breaking the lunch break rules, you know, returning to work later than expected. They have their legs on the kitchen table where other employees are supposed to eat. They're gossiping. I mean, there's just so much that you should not be doing on the job. But again, we get away with it because we are so relaxed in the workplace. Yeah. So we have 5 minutes. We're going to have to. Time goes by when you're having fun.
No, listen, moving forward, we also have to advise employers and employees to actually be strict with corporate rules, with organizational rules. We have to obey organizational rules and other stuff. Code of conduct. Every organization has gotten its own code and conduct that they actually follow. Okay. So we actually have to follow all those things. And one thing that, as a continent, I think we are facing, or a challenge that we are facing actually, to apply sanctions to those who go wayward organizational rules and regulations. Yes, because I think all those doing this are aware that it's not accepted in the setting that they find themselves or in the organization that they find themselves. But because
they know they'll get away with it.
They'll get away
That's very true.
Yeah, they'll get away with it. So it's not fair for you to go to workplace, a very corporate environment, and put your legs on the table. You go to lunch, you don't
just feeling free and relaxing.
When you feel like going home, you just go home. You don't obey simple rules and regulations.
But I feel like that's kind of how employees get if they're not being evaluated and if they're not constantly being checked on, you know, because after a while, employees just get bored and they probably might start doing whatever it is on the job, which is not right. Yes. But when you're not monitoring employees and you're not, you know, letting them know, right, issuing, let's say, disciplinary notices when employees misbehave on the job, just like you mentioned. These are all things that we need to do.
The earlier point that I make, I think employers should actually make sure be strict on their corporate, on their organizational rules and regulations. Okay. Very strict. I do it, I get away. The next person will also come and do it, and just because nothing was actually done to.
All right, we have
video. I don't actually want to touch on the video because it's very pathetic. Yeah, it's very pathetic. You are paid. The employer is actually paying for you to come and do something. You come to work and come and sleep.
Yeah, when you're not monitoring people, you'll be surprised so what they get away with.
Employers actually have to also put down this check mechanism that you spoke about. This appraisal mechanism, even though that they say familiarity breeds contempt, even though you are familiar with your employee, but when it comes to work, when it comes to rules, when it comes to organizational code and conduct,
you have to stick to it. You have to stick to it.
Make sure that you as the employer, or you as a manager, or you as the supervisor, you also set very good examples for your subordinates to actually follow.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. I definitely agree. All right, so we have such limited time. I'm almost certain we're going to go over today's episode. It's a special episode, so what if we go over by 5-10 minutes, right? All right, so now let's show you the clip from episode 6, employee and employer relations, grievance, discipline, and termination. And we were actually joined by Senyo M. Ejabeng. And Senyo just dropped so many dimes. You know, Senyo had such great information for us. You know, he is a labor relations expert, dispute resolution management expert, and I mean, he just gave us a wealth of knowledge. Do you remember when Senyo mentioned, I think he mentioned the damages for unlawful termination?
Yeah, I think she said 24 months.
Yeah, everyone was surprised, like 24 months, but I think what he was trying to say is that it's up to 24 months. You do not, if you are wrongfully discharged, you don't automatically get 24 months pay salary. That's ridiculous, you know, but if you're wrongfully discharged and you have valid reasons, then you can get up to that. That's the maximum you can receive for being wrongfully terminated.
And our session with Senyo actually drew my attention.
Was that your favorite episode?
Because of this episode, I've been at least visiting my labor law.
Good.
Labor law.
Good.
Most employers and employees actually don't pay attention to the labor law.
Not at all.
We can do a survey right now with our viewers, and we realize that out of about 1,000 viewership that we are only few actually visit their labor law.
Of course,
yeah,
of course.
As employee once in a while should consult the labor law and ask what the labor law is saying.
Exactly. Question it. We should
law.
question our labor law.
The labor law before you take any action against your employer or employee. Make sure that you are able to question the labor law, consult the labor law, so that you might not find yourself wanting. I've seen many people have paid money or have paid penalties that they are not supposed to be paid because they didn't consult the labor law. So our advice and treat our viewers, whether you are an employer, entrepreneur, employee, CEO, and other stuff, HR manager, any decision that you take, ask yourself, what does the labor law say? Is the labor law in support
of course
actually going to
of course
yes, so we should actually consult.
There's actually some good points, yeah, because I agree. Even though we're supposed to be setting our own rules and setting the tone and the language and the policies for the organizations that we find ourselves, we have to make sure that
the foundation
they are
of those policies, of those let's say programs that you set for your company, for your company, organization, must actually be based on the labor law.
I agree. I agree. And not even just the labor law. You know, if you go back to that episode that we had with Senyo, I really urge viewers to watch that particular episode because Senyo actually brings up some policies, documents that I think we as HR professionals can become familiar with, and also employees. You know, you need to be reading up on all these documents that talk about what the rights of employees are, how employers are supposed to abide by the employees that work with them. So you have all these documents available to you whenever you want. You can even find them online. So I strongly urge you to go to that episode.
Yes, Rita, before we also
move
on to the next episode, I think most employees actually don't read their organizational manual. All that they are interested in their offer letters is actually my salary. Is my salary going to be paid? They are only interested with their compensation and other benefits.
Exactly.
So I also entreat employees and recent graduates or graduate from the National Service Scheme to actually, when you are given an offer letter or you are given a job, a role, try to read the legalities that come with it.
Exactly.
Yes,
exactly. I agree. I agree.
The focus must actually not be on the benefits and the compensation that comes with it.
I agree.
We need to actually get what the organization manual is actually saying.
All right, so we have to wrap up. episode number 7, Performance Management Systems and Workforce Analytics that was with Anita Waith-Asener, and she actually works with OML. So Anita really just brought us some facts and figures with regards to human resource management. You know, the metrics, the analytics that pertains to human resources, just because it's very, very important as we are setting the pace and creating our own documents for this particular continent. It's very important that we start documenting the metrics that we use, the analytics that we use, just so that we also have our own contents that we can always refer to on this African continent, you know, instead of having to pull resources from abroad. So Anita definitely shed a lot of great points on managing and retaining talent.
Yes, and I think Anita is actually doing very well with these HR figures. It's very difficult. You know that initially when HR is being mentioned, HR is more seen as a qualitative something, a counselor something, onboarding and the outboarding process. But Anita is able to actually quantify all these things in figures. When someone doesn't come to work a day, Anita is able to quantify how it is going to actually affect productivity,
exactly.
affect
the numbers.
profitability. Yes,
yeah.
the numbers is very important.
Yeah.
Now, because of what Anita is doing, a lot of HR managers, when they are going for meetings, they provide figures. They provide percentage. Yesterday, last week on your show, you were able to provide percentage and other figures to actually back your qualitative analysis.
It's very important that we do that.
It's very, very important that HR practitioners of late take into account the quantitative aspect of HR to actually back our analysis. And
exactly. And it's important because what we are doing is we're actually gathering and collecting data as it pertains to the African continent. And we all know when it comes to access to information that we lack in that area. So yeah, that was an excellent episode as well. Okay, so now episode number 8, The Art of Negotiating Your Salary. This was with Abna, which HR manager at Vocalcom Limited, the Ghana GPS. Okay, yes. Yeah. So she came on board and shared her personal experience and just what she learned. So we're actually showing you the clip now. I clearly missed out, but yeah. So Abna came on to really just talk about her experience and had she followed the right process of actually asking for a raise when she was due for a raise. She's sure that she could have gotten 100% of what she requested, but because she missed certain things, she didn't get the actual 100%. So what she actually made a good point about is making sure that she
made a good point. And I think one thing that Abena actually touched on that I think is very relevant has to do when she said we have to actually document everything. Document it. Before you even ask for a raise, you have to document your achievement. Why are you asking for a raise? Your raise must actually be backed with evidence.
Exactly.
What are the evidence? Why do you think we should give you a raise? What have you done for the organization? What have you done to output? What have you done to profitability?
Exactly.
And one thing I'll also advise our viewers is that before you even ask for a raise, assess the profitability of the company. Because if you don't take care, the CEO might think that this guy is very cheap.
Exactly.
It's very wicked.
Yeah, like wicked. Selfish.
Yes, selfish. You know that the
organization
is not in good standing. We are not doing very well, and we are still coming to ask for a raise. So do your background check, do your research, and find out what is the profitability standing of the organization. Is the organization make quite good amount of money? Would they even be able to pay me what I'm actually going to ask for? So as employees, you shouldn't also be very wicked to the employer that, oh, I've spent because I've passed my probationary period, because of that I need raise. You've passed your probationary period, you are right, but what have you been able to add on to the organization?
There are metrics to actually getting a raise, correct?
What have you been able to add on to the organization? So don't just ask for a raise. Back your raise with documents, as Abena said. Back your raise with statistics, that since I came here, we've been able to do this. And I also advise the employers to actually be open up with regards to the profitability of the organization, the financial standing of the organization. Yes, transparency is the word. Be transparent to them so that the employees will actually fall in line with the company, or the company is not doing well. So because of this and this, we cannot ask for this Xmas package that we're actually talking about. Because of this, we have to cut this vacation. So they'll fall for you once you open for them. You open up,
they
understand
exactly
what is actually going on in the organization.
Okay.
So I will entreat them to actually interact with their employees to give them feedback on what is going on in the business.
I definitely agree with you. So we have come to the very end, which is always sad, right? So the 9th episode, which took place last week, was about employee job satisfaction. Okay. Yeah, and we did our 24-hour survey across the internet. 51 people voted, and out of the 51 people, I think, 25, almost 26% mentioned that job opportunities is what would motivate them. You know, they found that to be more relevant to them. Whereas I think in the past, obviously it was compensation and benefits, but times are very different now than what they were before. People are looking for more than just a paycheck, you know, and I think the stats last week proved it. Yeah, anything you want to add to that?
Listen, I side with those who went on for opportunity, and I'm not surprised opportunity actually won. I have a lot of friends who actually left their job to a different job because of the opportunity, for a pay cut, because of the opportunity that exists in the organization. Everybody is actually looking for a job where he or she can grow, a job where he or she can actually have.
They feel valued, right?
Yes,
they want to be stakeholders.
Yes, I feel value of the organization, and when the organization starts making money, I think I'm going to benefit from it. So I'm looking at the opportunities that actually engulf in the whole organization. Yes, there are certain organizations which I think they actually hide their skills, and it's become very difficult for you to learn. But so those who went for opportunities will actually go for those organizations which they have the role to actually learn new things, learn new technologies, go to school. The organization have educational policies. Yes, for them to learn and relearn and unlearn and get new skills. So I'm not surprised at all that opportunities actually.
Yeah, I wasn't either, to be honest. I just think that it was a clear indication of how times have changed. So there you have it. Can you believe it? This is episode number 10. Seth and I, my co-pilot here, we just did a recap of the first 9 episodes, and hopefully you have watched. If not, you can find them all across our social media pages at the Association of African University, KUSI Consultant, LinkedIn, Facebook. Well, I should say Facebook and YouTube. So we have 3 more episodes to close out the season, and next week we'll be discussing on-the-job injuries. Yeah, and then the following week we're discussing harnessing our indigenous potential, and then talent management and succession planning will be our very last episode. For that episode, we actually have a very special guest, but I will not tell you just yet. And yeah, so we are done. But before we officially close out, I think Seth and I would like to just share a couple of words. We've been hearing a lot about, you know, the layoffs that are happening, and it just seems that it's going to be happening for quite some time, you know. And we just want to say a couple of things to, if anyone that is facing a layoff, we just want to tell you that the strategy is to not be idle, okay? You do not want to stay home and just be home because you're going through a layoff. This is really your time to get out there. This is your time. Use the 8 or 9 hours that you were reporting to work, use that to your advantage. Go out there, look for jobs, build your network, talk to people. Don't just stay home, because trust me, layoffs can also be a sign of something greater to come, okay? So I'm sure
so I think
might have some words here.
They also have to actually, as you said, they shouldn't sit down. They have to utilize their talent. Their small talent that they are having. I remember I heard in the news that there is one of the layoff staffs is actually into catering services and other stuff, grilling pork and other stuff.
It's your time to do the things that you've always
do the things that you love.
Yes, it doesn't
utilize
matter
your
what
talent,
it is.
put your talent into use.
It doesn't matter what it is.
You can make it.
Exactly. So just some words of encouragement for you if you're facing a layoff. Again, thank you so much for joining us. I am your host, Rita KUSI, with 30 Minutes with HR, and I was joined today by Seth Osekodia, who is our Human Resource Manager at KUSI Consultant. So be sure to look us up for all of your human resource management and consultant needs, because we are definitely here to keep you simply intact. Thank you.